Richard, thanks so much for joining us on our Superstar Sport podcast today.
Pleasure.
A bit different, we're doing it online. And so excited to have you on, Richard. And we were surprised that you were willing to kind of give up your time and come on with us today. And I wondered, firstly, what it was about. Why are you giving up your time today to talk to us?
No, it's important, obviously, that I kind of not only share my story, but also some of the insights of what is important for me regarding sport, some of the tools that I've been able to gain through that process, but also with the work that you're doing with young people and the leaders of tomorrow, being able to mould that community and support that community through either this format or mentoring. Or I think when we talk about digital imprint, sometimes we talk a lot about social media, podcasting, and we don't actually talk about the messaging that comes out of a lot of that digital imprint. And I think it's so important that obviously people like myself, when we put on that GB tracksuit or have that opportunity in front of those microphones, they're really impactful. And I call them my microphone moments. And I think young people relate to people that are overcoming adversity, but also that they can see the hope and aspiration, and also see some of the barriers and obstacles that people have to overcome to be successful. And success is measured in lots of different ways, and that's the reason why I really warm to obviously the conversation and email that you sent over, because if one person is touched by obviously our conversation today, it's worthwhile, and that's where we should relate the work that we do around that impact.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. And yeah, and again, thank you so much. And it's obviously you've got a bigger, wider mission. And I wanted to just ask, for people that know your name but maybe don't know your story, how would you describe what you've done and what you're doing right now?
Wow, yeah, it's a vast amount of work that I do. Double Paralympic gold medalist, won in London 2012, Rio 2016. I've been to 4 Paralympic Games, 4 medals. I started my running journey running marathons in 2004. I've run 102 marathons now, so a lot of them.
Wow.
I've done ultra-marathon events, like I ran from Land's End to John O'Groats, which I ran a marathon a day for 40 days. I do a lot of humanitarian work all over the world, so Beirut, Syria, Lebanon, places like that in the Middle East, as well as working with veterans from the armed forces. Work with lots of school environments around educating young people and teachers around the importance of inclusive sport. And even though I've got a disability and I'm a double leg amputee, I feel that my disability is a resource that really does break down some of those barriers and obstacles that people have around limitations. And because of that, I set up my own foundation, the Richard Whitehead Foundation, as well in 2020, I think. And I'm just busy. I do a lot of corporate events. I do a lot of speaking in schools and universities. And I feel that every conversation needs to be meaningful. And whether you're talking in front of 1 million people or 1 or 2 people, it's about being authentic and genuine. And hopefully those messages can translate to social change. And that's what I'm looking for at the moment. I'm looking to really kind of hone in on giving people the hope that anything's possible. And it truly is. But it's about also upskilling people about the importance of equality, diversity and inclusion. And through the power of sport, we definitely can do that.
Brilliant. Oh, that's amazing. One of the things you mentioned there is you mentioned ability as a resource. And I think that's a really amazing way to look at it. You've clearly got an extremely strong mindset, and I would love to touch on that shortly. Overcoming adversity is something that, of course, you have had to do. It's something that we always talk about. We've got Billy, our director, on here today as well. And we're constantly talking about overcoming adversity, aren't we, Bill? With the children that we work with and with our franchisees.
One thing that you mentioned, and I loved it, Richard, when you said like your disability being a resource, and Anne's touching it there. I've done a bit of research last night. I actually got home from the London Stadium where you won 1 of your gold medals. Unfortunately, Man U scored in the last minute. I'm a West Ham fan. And I was actually doing a bit of research, and one of the things that come up, it was like a little quote, and it was describing you online. So I was trying to do a bit more research about you as well. And right at the end, I wrote it down because I loved it. It said barriers can be overcome through mindset, effort, and opportunity. But the first word there is mindset. When did that mindset develop for you, that your barriers can be like they're things that you can overcome? Was a young age? Was it through family influence? Was it just ingrained in you? Because I'm really passionate about. We work with so many young children. Like, how can we give young children that mindset that they can achieve anything, and these barriers can be overcome?
It's definitely through opportunity, and also encouraging young people to open up and have those safe spaces, so that when those safe spaces are there, they encourage young people to challenge themselves, because that's a really vulnerable space for young people. And I find that young people do struggle to, and the adults or peers do struggle to unlock some of those opportunities with young people, because those safe spaces aren't really celebrated. And those spaces, safe spaces, they could be physical spaces, they can just be spaces that are created to then enrich people's opinions and opportunities through communication as well. And communication is really important with young people, and it changes all the time. And as we grow older, we need to adapt to those communication styles. And I noticed that when I was growing up, I found that as like a kinesthetic learner, somebody that learns kind of through actions, that sometimes people that I worked with didn't understand that it's about an individual approach. Everybody's an individual, and it's about how to unlock that potential in that individual. If you're teaching to a class environment of 30, 40 young people, and you've got one coaching style or one teaching style, it's really hard for everybody to buy into that. And for me, I encourage teachers, coaches to really get to know their audience, understand their behaviours, and really kind of have a positive mindset that everybody in that class, everybody in that coaching environment can have that takeaway. And when I was growing up as a person with a disability that's very clear, visible, that you can see, my peers did judge what was possible. So I used to have like conversations where, oh, yeah, Richard, and yes, well, obviously he's going to struggle in this area, but yeah, anything's possible. And starting with a negative is never a good thing. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be over accentuate a positive, but it's about having that mindset where the positive energy, the communication style needs to be warm. It needs to be bringing people together. And also, like I said before about celebrating difference, everybody is different. Everybody has skills. Everybody has a gift. And it's about unlocking that gift for a generational change. And when I was growing up, I think I had some real kind of negative experiences at primary school that held me back going into secondary school. And then I had some real positive characters in secondary school that started to unlock that. And whether that was in school within teachers, or whether that was outside of school with coaches. And then my parents were from a working class background, so I had to really earn every opportunity that I had in life. And I still think disabled people and minority groups still have to go the extra mile. Facilities are not always accessible. Equipment is a lot more expensive for the disability community. And as practitioners, it's about adapting your style of work, your processes, to be all encompassing. The people that I've worked with before, whether it's coaches, whether it's people within my team, I've always said that working with people like myself, that they've had to adapt their style of process and coaching and delivery. I've always felt it's self-development for themselves as well. Yeah. And that's so important as well, that when you're delivering your sessions, or you're working with people that are from minority groups, see it as an opportunity of enrichment for yourself as well as delivery.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the word, which really brilliant stuff, Richard, but you mentioned the word like positivity so many times there, and not starting with negative, and having like that positive mindset when you approach things. Being completely honest, I'm one of those people in my life that could be a bit more, I'll use the word negative at times, and Angelo is like a really brilliant influence on me, because he is like the most positive person that I know on the planet. One of our core values at Superstar Sport is positivity in all we do, and especially when working with young people, being positive is so important. Question for you, Ange, as well, for both of you, Richard, because you seem so positive. Like, is that something that you developed? Is it something that you just are? Is it something that you're just naturally positive? You're able to be a positive person, and you look at things with a positive mindset, or is it something that you've developed through time?
Yeah, no, I think I resonate with what you said there, Richard, in terms of, I think for me, it's overcoming specific adversities at a young age and having to adapt and realizing that, like you said, ultimately it's conditioning, right? And my brain has been conditioned that if I'm positive, I get a better result, I get a better outcome. And one of the other key things that you said, it's funny, Bill, you tapped on that, because I know you, Richard, you just mentioned that starting with the positive is important, but don't be overly positive. And then sometimes I'm too far on the other side where I'm kind of being overly positive. Actually, a realistic mindset is better. But I think for me, it's overcoming those early adversities and realizing that positivity gain better results effectively.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing that I would definitely say with young people that I've found before working in teaching and coaching is consistency as well. Being consistent with that message, always showing up as a mentor, always being that support, guidance, but also reassuring young people that times are tough, and resilience is something that isn't tangible. You can't actually feel it. It's very similar to mental health. Everybody has mental health struggles and like triggers, and because it's not tangible, people sometimes don't understand it, don't realize it goes on, but also don't respect it as well. Very similar to consistency as well. You need to turn up, you need to show up, you need to have the same attitude towards your delivery, attitude towards young people, that there's whatever kind of mood or whatever the weather is, that young people have that light, and it's about igniting that light for them to shine. And it's about seeing the best in everybody is really important. And when I put a team around myself, and this is something that I think, well, when I talk to a lot of performance teams around putting a team together, it's about looking at value, looking at people, looking at people's skills, and looking at self-development. And when you're working with young people, obviously you're looking at the journey, not just the moment they're in at the moment. And then when they're progressing and getting stronger and developing, or having those tough moments, you can look back at where they actually started from and see how they've developed. And it's fantastic. Like, I see so many young people that have grown into really like positive people or really strong people within their communities, because their disability or their impairment, whatever it is, whether it's a learning, sensory, hidden disability, has really kind of engaged the community to be more inclusive. And there's loads of different ways to look at inclusivity, whether it's bringing people together, whether it's maximizing resources. I think there's, within society, some people look at financials, some people look at the community, some people look at togetherness. There's lots of different aspects. For me, it's about representation and opportunity, like we've already alluded to, that giving everybody the same platform or podium that I've had in my sports career is so important. Whether you're struggling with mental health, whether you're starting your journey, whether you're looking to be a better business provider by working with people from a minority group, it's very similar. It's about offering that opportunity and platform for people to shine.
And when we're talking about inclusion, in your view, Richard, what does real inclusion actually look like beyond like good intentions? You know, what barriers do people miss unless they've lived it?
Empathy is something that is strong. Having people that can really shine a light on that people have lived those barriers and obstacles is so important. And having the insight from that community. Edie and I ambassador for a couple of really big international brands, Bupa and Nissan, and that again, it's like constantly giving me opportunities of learning myself about some of the communities. And when I set up my foundation in 2020, I'd had 10 years of like immersing myself into lots of different areas of life, and that was humanitarian communities, LGBTQ+, BME, disability. And also, for me, it was a great opportunity to actually say, when I'm showcasing full inclusive sport or an inclusive mindset, that it is representative of everybody. And hopefully that's how I come across. And yes, we can all learn more, we can all gain more knowledge, but it's what we do with that wisdom, right? But I think it's for me, fully inclusive mindset is about responsibility, that everybody has a responsibility to be inclusive. Everybody has a responsibility to value it. And if there's areas that we are lacking, maybe because it's either self-conscious bias or it's that we've just we've not been around that community before. I think it's our own responsibility to upskill ourselves. And within a lot of working environments, that's what I'm seeing at the moment, that people are valuing a more inclusive approach, because if you're kind of fulfilling that inclusive approach, you're then hopefully getting more people to buy into your philosophy or your business. So it's worth doing. It's actually worth doing in regarding financials. But for me, it's about doing it because I want to, from the outset, look, feel, and be authentic, be genuine around my inclusive approach around life, not just sport.
Yeah, I Richard, absolutely love the message. Like, we started this company, or I'll speak for myself, Ange. I wake up every day like with a burning desire just to help children, just be active, because I remember being a young child and having so many benefits to being active in sport, especially with my mental health. I've had mental health like challenges, like nothing severe, but challenges that I've overcome, and anxiety and stuff like that. And sport and exercise and physical activity has been incredible for me, and it's helped me so much. And a question I've got for you, and you're like, we sing the self-development song about like we need to be better every day. As business owners, it's probably the most annoying thing on the planet that every single time something happens, or every single time maybe our company doesn't get something right because we're not perfect, we eventually look at the top and say, well, it's our fault. What can we do to improve to get that better? And going full circle, you mentioned some early challenges in primary education, in primary school. We work with tens of thousands of children in primary education across the country. And I'm really intrigued to understand, well, what were those barriers? Have you seen those barriers be overcome in education now? And for me, the way that we can develop our company is through research, is through going on relevant calls to X1Z, but it's actually by talking to incredible people like yourself and yourself as well. Understanding the children's experiences, getting their first-hand kind of understanding of how do they feel about maybe the delivery, do they feel included? What were the barriers that you felt that we can maybe look out for and help us develop?
Yeah, going back to, there's lots of elements to that question, obviously, and I think it's young people want to be valued. They want to have an opportunity to smile, have fun, to move, and it's about breaking down sport into the basics of bringing young people together to have fun and to move, and everybody within that classroom environment needs to be included with that tool of representation. And then it's equipping the deliverers with the tools, the experience, the knowledge to be able to deliver that. And it's so important to have the dynamic skills to be able to not even approach the environment with positivity, but actually approach the school environment with, I'm going to make a difference here. And every moment lasts for a lifetime, because you know that there'll be teachers that you can remember from your school days that you connected with because you like sport. But there's also young people that didn't have those experiences because maybe they didn't like football or rugby or gymnastics, or they didn't like putting on a swimming costume because they were body conscious, or they were too tall, or the colour of their skin, or how they spoke. And it's about identifying some of these areas where we can improve ourselves. And I continually go into schools now. I'm passionate about making a difference within school environments, looking at families of schools that do really need support with their delivery, because sometimes we lose sight of the message that has been banded into deliverers from day one, and that's every child matters. And the amount of times I go into schools and I say, well, what's the focus at the moment? And very rarely have I heard every child matters. And that should be and when I go training, I'll bring it back to me. When I go training, I wake up in the morning and I say, I want to be better today than I was yesterday. And whether it's better ironing my kit, or better timekeeping, or better running fast, or better the lifting heavy. And that's the kind of message that when we go into those school environments, I want to be better every day, because the people that are going to benefit is those children. So every child matters. And still see some real struggles within primary and secondary education around managing, just because of maybe lack of experience from the staff, or lack of resources, or lack of space, or inadequate things that I just mentioned. And also sometimes as practitioners, teachers have this professional ceiling where they feel that if they ask for help, it then undermines their role within the classroom. And for me, I try to softly kind of educate those providers that I'm somebody with a disability. I'm somebody that's had to overcome some of those barriers and obstacles. Children, even though I'm 49 years old, children still relate to me because they see that I've had to overcome some of those barriers. Why wouldn't you utilise me as a resource to maybe start those conversations? And maybe it goes off in a tangent, and it starts off with like a me coming in doing an assembly, or doing a workshop with some of the teachers, and then all of a sudden the schools start to access maybe inclusive after school clubs, or start to have better relationships with community settings through sport, because the children want that. And it's about really kind of opening your mind to sport isn't just about getting sweaty. It's about the opportunities it brings. But also, I think we need to break down some of the buzzwords that become quite intimidating for young people and teachers, like physical activity, running, exercise. Those words are quite strong, powerful. I don't run. I don't like physical activity. Where I think if we talk about movement, if we talk about adding value to people's healthy lifestyles, it really does kind of relate to some of the challenges that young people and teachers have. Because also, if you're for me, if I want to go into a community setting and the community has a real issue with healthy eating, and then I'm trying to promote to young people about kind of movement and like the importance of sport, then maybe there's a wider piece of work that needs to be done to support the community before young people.
So what would you say if you had a magic wand, right? And there's one thing you could change tomorrow in schools or the community of sport. What do you think that would be?
I'd say one thing, celebrating difference through leadership would be something that I'm really passionate about. I go into a lot of school settings where they have these inclusion leaders, and normally what it is one person of colour, and then one non-person of colour, and it's normally a boy and girl. That I've probably been into maybe 150 schools or something, and maybe seen one person with a disability within that role, which when 1 in 4 people in the UK has a disability, that ratio isn't obviously represented. And I think when you've got a voice within a school setting, it really does make a difference. And I think young people need to have more of a voice. Schools are community hubs. I think we need to celebrate those, need to support them. I think more people in the community need to see the great work that schools are doing, but also be honest and authentic with that approach. If they have issues around obesity, if they have issues around crime in the community, we need to be honest and transparent about that, because we need solutions. There is some real challenges and obstacles within communities at the moment, and sport can definitely break down some of those barriers. We see a lot at the moment with the running community. There is a real uplifts of young people between 18 and 30 that are going to running clubs, that aren't going to pubs and clubs, and because of that, antisocial behaviour in certain areas of the UK is on a decrease, because young people are finding an avenue to actually channel their energy that is positive, and running as part of that.
Brilliant. And one of the key things that you've mentioned quite a lot already is about opportunity. And for organisations like us, we want to create more opportunity for children, but also for newest franchisees. So how important do you feel it is for people to go out and find the opportunity? Because for us, we sell our franchise model across the UK, and we're passionate about helping children get fit, active and healthy, but we're also passionate about sports coaches or ex-teachers or people who want a different career in their lives to actually go out their way and seek an opportunity. And that might be with us running their own children's sports coaching franchise, or it might be something completely different. You've spoken a lot about opportunity. How important it is for people to, despite the challenges they might be having, to just go out and get the opportunity, that it's not going to fall on their lap, right? Is it, Richard?
No, for
they
sure.
have to go out. What are your views around that?
I've definitely got a mindset of going out there and grabbing that opportunity for sure. And I've done it in my past enough. People associate me with lots of different things, whether it's running, whether I used to teach swimming, so I ran my own swimming school at one point, teaching PE, or being an advocate within sport. I think it's about passion, really. What's your passion? And how are you going to use that passion to be able to have an impact? So passion to impact. And for me, there's so many opportunities to put on some sports provision for young people. And there's so much opportunity for people's enrichment through that. And sometimes we think that if we're delivering, then the people that we're delivering to are getting the benefit. Well, actually, it should also be the people that are delivering as well, knowing they're delivering good quality in a safe place with the intent to inspire and liberate. These deliverers should feel that they're giving back to the community, and it shouldn't always be about the financial benefit. It should be about using the skills that you've developed in life. And if I was not doing what I do and just running, and this is what I say to a lot of athletes have skill sets that are incredible around lots of different areas, and they don't utilize them. So when they retire or come out of sport, they think, oh, what am I going to do now? It's because they've got a plethora of skills, and it's kind of everything's kind of up in the air, and they don't know how to pick those skills and then utilize them. And I think as general members of the public, or maybe you're somebody that's come out of sport, that's loved a certain sporting activity, why did you love it in the first place? Was it participation? Was it performance? Was it leadership? Because then enhance that area to provide a provision yourself, whether it was like football, but you actually liked the governance of that. Get involved in a club at governance level, or start working with a coaching network and deliver some coaching to provide young people with more opportunities, with more qualified coaches, or whether it's you find an area in your community that hasn't got a provision, but there's loads of need, whether that's swimming or gymnastics or whatever it is, and then investigate how you can put on that provision. In the past, I've helped organisations and football clubs gain things like 4G football course, football provision because of investment in inclusive football, as well as mentor coaches, because maybe they've had young people that they've really needed to support and they've not been upskilled in that area. And I think just kind of put yourself in that vulnerable space to actually grow, because even at whatever age you are now, whether you're watching or listening at this, everybody can, as a person, and feel that they're actually being valued as a part of a growing community.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Billy is of course a director here at Superstar Sport, but also fulfills a role as network manager. And what that means is that Bill supports our groups of franchisees, our units across the UK, in helping them find the opportunities within their local communities. And a lot of what you said there resonates.
Well, one thing that you mentioned, Richard, which is to me really powerful, is it shouldn't be a financial element to get into this industry, or to be working with children around sport and exercise and moving. And I couldn't agree anymore. If and I say this to people that come into our network all the time, who want to run a business, ultimately getting children active. And I say, if money's your driver, you shouldn't be in this industry, because what needs to be the driver is the why. You need to be passionate about getting children active, putting smiles on faces, being inclusive, making sure that you're totally right. Every single child matters. It is so, so important. Then beyond that, once you've got that as a why, as your starting point, there is an opportunity to be rewarded financially, as there should be in life. PE teachers should be paid so much more than what they're paid today, and sports coaches, because of what they're doing is so important. But I don't think the starting point should be, well, look, I'm in it for the money. I'm in it to be financially secure. It should be, I am passionate about helping local children move, get active, improve, develop. And then you're totally right. Is it that you want to help develop the next professional athlete? Is it that you just want children to be active? Because I know one of my drivers is, if we find a child who is excelling and can move on to the next level, and we will signpost them to a local gymnastics club or a local football club or whatever their passion is. But actually, my passion is about decreasing childhood obesity rates, improving the mental health of the nation through exercise. We're in like a bit of a mental health pandemic at the moment. And I believe in years to come that the NHS might prescribe PT sessions for people who are struggling mentally, rather than just medication potentially. It's like, get out and move your body, walk the dog 5 times a week if you can, and be active and be in nature, things that I'm really passionate about. But one thing I want to touch on, Richard, is you are an elite performer. You are like literally elite. Yeah, you're a multiple Olympic gold medalist, world champion. We spoke before, and you've run 102 marathons. You said you run 2 marathons this month. I didn't know if you meant this morning or this month, but you're like that is in itself absolutely elite and insane. And what I'm really passionate about, because I'm going to be really selfish now, because I want to know, because for me, elite performance transcends just sport. It goes into being the very best business owner. It also goes into being the best dad I can be. I want to be an elite father. I want to be an elite husband. What are the things that like make you an elite athlete, which you are? Because running 102 marathons, I don't know if you know this, Richard, it's not normal. It's just not normal. So what are the things that like you look at and go, well, these are my success principles that and you probably see it as givens. You wake up and you just go and get after it and work hard. But what are those things that you put down that success to? What makes you elite?
First thing you need to do, Billy, is wind up the clock behind you, because it stops. That's the thing you do.
Go.
Time is precious. That's what I would say. But a performance mindset is something that it is developed. I always say attitude over ability wins every time. So when I was growing up, I was always kind of signposted as sport would be really powerful, and sport would kind of hopefully have a lasting legacy on who I am and how I access lots of different things. Because obviously growing up in the late 70s, early 80s, there was so many barriers and obstacles for me, and a lot of those were attitudes. And obviously, like non-access to like facilities due to steps and lack of like accessible coaching. But I think through those moments where I had to be really resilient with people around me that were very supportive, that creates those pillars of success that then I'm building off. And clearly it's not easy to be a performance person, never mind performance athlete. There's certain traits that you have to be the best at what you want to be in life. And sometimes I have to be very selfish, and I have to really commit a lot of time to my training. And it sometimes seems to be very lavish that I'm traveling all over the world to compete and train, but it's totally immersive. Like last year I did 20 marathons all over the world. Like I went far east as Sydney, far west as Vancouver, Africa, like all over Europe, America. And it's very tiring. It's very hard work, because I generally I work with people that work 9 to 5, and that's great. I work 365 days a year. I literally every day of the year I'm working on trying to be better. And I encourage a mindset that is like a cake, so it's balanced. You do have like rest, and you do have performance opportunities. You have time when you're working really hard. But I also encourage that 365 days a year that you are investing in yourself. And that's what I continually do. And having practitioners and people around me that are like-minded, which is really important. And that's sometimes quite hard to find people that have got the same drive and vision as you, that people that don't just say yes because that's the answer that they think you want, but actually believe in the process. Also continually pushing yourself, whatever achievement you gain, whether it's a Paralympic gold medal, whether it's running a marathon or however many, you continue looking to be better. And some of the small goals build kind of big successes. And when people say, oh, you only learn from your failure, well, technically that's not true, because you're learning all the time. And sometimes when you have real setbacks in society or setbacks for yourself, it's an opportunity to reflect and then build. I understand that. But also, I think we need to be more realistic than that and have an opportunity to grow every day. And as a performance person, I put myself into a lot of vulnerable situations. So I'll be like going to talk to, I don't know, 600 people. Like I did a talk in Barcelona a couple of months ago, and it was to a group of people from India that were in the banking industry. Now, I've done a lot of talks to lots of different people, and I really had to kind of zone in my skill set to be able to make sure that this group, one, understand my messaging, but also everyone had something to take away. And that's exactly what I do with a school assembly. So if I'm talking to like 5 to 6 year old kids that have maybe never seen somebody with prosthetic legs before, I want them to go away with a message that it's okay to be different. And because of that, they remember that moment, hopefully, for the rest of their lives. So as a performance person, I'm always thinking about performance as in not gold medal, but having gold medal moments throughout the day. So it's just about kind of having that opportunity to have an impact, and then not diluting it, but making sure that every opportunity is a real reflection of that. And I would say as well, as performance people, you should be wearing that 24/7. So even if you go out to the supermarket, somebody says, Billy, I saw that you're doing this activity next week. Can you tell me about it? And that's an opportunity of enrichment for you. The same as it is when somebody comes to me and says, oh, my little girl's just seen you've got prosthetics, should I walk around with shorts on? Can you tell us about what your story is?
No, really, it's so relevant to business and the world that we're in, Richard. Some of the things that you mentioned, like firstly, sacrifice is huge. Working 365 days a year, we talk about often. It's like I'm always in the zone of working, even days off, annual leave and stuff like that. I'm always trying to develop and move our company forward. We want to get 1 million children fit. Like we want to hit some really big goals about being the nation's biggest sports coaching provider. We want to decrease childhood obesity rates, and we constantly talk to our franchise owners about sacrifice is a real big part of that you need to make sacrifice. And I was using the analogy recently with a group that we work with around like I call it gear 5. Like you can't live in gear 5. It's impossible to always be in gear 5, but it's a superpower to be able to turn it on and go, I'm going to have a gear 5 day here or a gear 5 week. So sacrifice, absolutely. And one thing that you mentioned as well, we had a conversation with Daniel Priestley on our recent podcast. It was around increasing your odds. And it's basically what you've just described in a nutshell. It's like walking into the supermarket and talking to somebody about what you're trying to achieve. Your odds might be 1 in a million to be successful, but that conversation might nudge it up to 10 in a million. And it's understanding, well, what can I do today to increase my odds of being successful? And jumping on a podcast with Richard Whitehead MBE, like incredible elite athlete. I'm a bit nervous before, but I've got a choice. I can not jump on it and not put myself out there, or I can increase my odds. I can learn from you. I can take everything you're saying, be a sponge and try and understand elite performance. Hopefully somebody might watch this and resonate with that. And ultimately it just increases our odds to be successful. And the final one you mentioned was around goal setting. and like having those mini goals, which then turn into bigger goals. Is goal setting something that you play with a lot? Do you have goals?
A lot,
like,
yeah. Every day. Yeah, every day. I think it's really important to have goals and aspirations. Sometimes environment kind of knocks that a little bit with like today, obviously it's wet in Nottingham. It's like a lot of people like very kind of somber with their mood. And I actually put something on my socials today around, it's really funny that like walking to school with the kids, that the only people with happy smiley faces were the kids that were jumping in and out of puddles. So you just go, how do we connect to that? It's about having fun, it's about utilizing the moment, and people that really do understand that realize that we have now a moment in time, so why don't we utilize that time to have the biggest opportunity of enrichment, especially for young people, because that's what they're wanting. And every time you open that door in that new school, it's a new opportunity. And whether you're doing 40 hours a week in schools delivering, or whether it's just one, every time those kids are looking at you, they're looking for something. They're looking for that leadership, that inspiration, that working on their resilience, new skills, new opportunities to improve, and take those as something, as a real responsibility. And that's what I did. I think in 2012, when I won my Paralympic gold medal, I stood on that podium, and then 8,000 people sang the national anthem with me, and kind of we celebrated. I think I took that as a real life-changing moment for myself, of every moment that I have that people show an interest or even don't show an interest, and every moment that I have to be able to get my message out there, I'm going to utilize that as I'm standing on top of that podium with that responsibility. And amazing. We all have that superpower. It's just about believing that we have it.
Well, I want to touch on that moment, if that's okay, Richard. I wanted to ask you, we're talking about mindset, we're talking about opportunities, and I want to show the audience that clip.
9. So away they go, the final of the men's T42 200 metres, and Whitehead gets the slow start, but he will surge through the field, and let's see how well he can go now. But on the inside, Scott Reardon for Australia has the lead, and it's Jackie Orvance for the United States, but here he comes and hits the front. It's going to be a goal for Great Britain, and a wonderful run. He crosses the line in 24.39. It's a new world record. And Richard Whitehead, quite superb in the latter stages of that race, came storming through, and the crowd goes wild. Wonderful performance. He celebrates. He has conquered the world. He is the Paralympic champion.
I think for me, it's always like watching that, you kind of think, yeah, one, am I going to win? And two, like, what a great opportunity that was. And you see the people's faces, and 8,000 people in the crowd, like smiling, all the Union Jack flags. Such an incredible time to be in the UK and in London. And yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, this is a gold medal as well.
There it is. Wow.
How often do you wear it now? Every day?
I've only ever worn it once.
Yeah.
And that's on that podium. I've only worn it once. I've never worn. Yeah, thousands of people have worn it. I've only worn it once, and that's on that podium. So you'll never see a picture of me wearing that medal. I think because I always want to remember that moment as being very special, and mind blowing how sport can transform your life. And I think obviously when I went down in the blocks, and I didn't realise how powerful that moment was going to be, and it definitely is transformative, and hopefully people resonate with disabled people because of that, and saw performance sport, not the disability. And I think that was the thing that I got from that performance. After that, I was starting to like feel at home with sport, and feel like all the work that I'd put into myself and my training all came to fruition, and being able to deliver that was a very proud moment.
It's amazing. One of the key things I wanted to ask you, Richard, off the back of that is, like, firstly, how amazing that moment was. But you then went on to continue competing, continue winning. Like, what is it inside you that thinks that makes you want to just carry on pushing forward? We see this sometimes in ourselves and other business owners that we talk to, and even our franchisees, is, that we hit a level of success, but we're never happy. We always want more. And it's something Bill and I always talk about. What is it for you that makes you just keep wanting to compete, keep wanting to growing and developing?
Yeah, I went 10 years on the track unbeaten, and then was able to then go back on the road and be successful on the road again, and continue to break world records on the road. And self-development's a big thing for me, and continually wanting to improve personally. And it was never really about the medals. It was more about kind of the opportunity, and relating it to business. It's about, obviously, financials kind of make the world turn around, and growth, but I think it's a really, really important to look at social impact and how you're collaborating with other industries and other businesses to have that social impact. And that's a big driver for me, that I can kind of, when I'm working for brands and organisations and stakeholders, and I worked for some incredible international brands, as well as obviously my foundation, it's incredible to then get the feedback that people have gone on their own journey because of the work that we've done, or we've provided some equipment that's broken down a barrier for them for accessibility, or I've delivered a talk in a work environment, and then I've been rebooked to do another one, and then I think that's so important, and that's probably as important, if not more important, than actually the financials. I think, again, there's still the barriers for people with disabilities around the financial implications of accessibility for people with disabilities, because of maybe, like I say, equipment cost, or transportation, or facilitation of inclusive coaching. But I also think it's, when people have said to me, like, it can't be done, like, even like last year, I'd done my 80th marathon in 2014 and broke the world record in Chicago. And then I was like, well, next year I'm going to do 20 all over the world. They're like, well, that's clearly not going to be possible, because you're going to have to run maybe 2 or 3 marathons a month, because marathons aren't all the way through the year. And how are you going to fit those in, and recovery, and da-da-da. And I said, well, I'm going to show you, and hopefully take you on a bit of a learning journey with that, around what is possible. And it's amazing that a mindset of somebody can change over time. And even like last year, I'd done, so point A was like probably January 10th, 11th, where I'd not done any marathons, and people saying, oh, how are you gonna cope with injury, illness, sickness, like. And then I got to maybe September, when I'd done 16, 17 marathons, and people then are blasé and going, oh, he's definitely going to do it now because he's done 17. And
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, all of a sudden that mindset's massively changed because of success. And I think it's very similar to what you talked about there, is that people's energy mindset changes from that negative kind of, how's that going to be done? It's not physically possible because I personally can't do it, into he's done 17. He's clearly going to do 3 more. 3 more is nothing. It's like, not that I was showing up. I did 14 marathons sub 3 hours. Every marathon I was doing like probably 10, 15, 20 hours of press before I do the marathons. And all that kind of social responsibility stuff that I was doing at these races as well. So it was a real kind of shift of energy, and relating it back to business. That's what can happen with business when you can become successful. The energy shifts, and then the drive then alters. And I think sometimes with success, people take the foot off the gas, or don't understand it's sometimes development isn't all about making more money. It might be increasing wisdom within the team, increasing knowledge, self-development. And that's how you keep that drive going. It can't be the problem of success through financials, because at some point you're going to get to the top where you can't go any further. And then the only people that you're going to motivate are people that are going to want to come in for money. And I want like-minded people working with me.
We really resonate with that, Richard, being a franchise model, because ultimately we have franchises, we've got areas or territories that are running businesses getting tens of thousands, 30,000 children every single week active, doing millions of pounds in turnover a year. And then for a prospective franchisee to start their journey, they can see it's being done. And it's you earlier on, you spoke about microphone moments. And to us, that's like almost like case studies of, look, you've seen it. Now it's available for you to achieve. And that picture behind in your room there of you celebrating on that finish line is that microphone moment for like thousands of children who look at that and go, well, if Richard has done it, that's my case study. I can definitely achieve it. And ultimately that, really resonates from us when it comes to franchising and microphone moments, those big visual moments where people can see it being achieved. It almost changes their expectations. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It really does. It must have been different back in the 70s when you say microphone moments, because I'm guessing there was less of them, but was there any massive impacts for you from people that you see who made you believe that you could do it?
My old gymnastics coach, he was a great kind of sounding board, and supported me in other sporting kind of success, as well as like swim coaches and just like I say teachers really. I think young people sometimes have those walls and barriers in front of them because their voice isn't heard, or they're put in a situation where they feel very vulnerable, that's not very safe. And I think as a leader or somebody that's a deliverer, it's about managing that as well. So when we talk about leadership in young people, sometimes that isn't standing up in front of an assembly, delivering what they've done at the weekend and celebrating that, because that might feel very uncomfortable for them. But it might be doing that in a smaller group, a smaller setting, or it might be in a different communication format, whether it's written, whether it's a video format, that celebrates and really encompasses what that young person's feeling. As somebody growing up with a disability, obviously things have massively changed now. We're seeing kind of the opposite, where those self-gratifying moments on social media, people are trying to kind of emulate, where it's like, I want to be like them. And it's for me, it's more you. It needs to be all like, you're the driver in your life. Don't be a passenger in somebody else's, but also have moments that you can paint that picture, like the picture in the background. You can kind of say, look, this is a moment where I was the captain of a team, or this is a moment where I got 8 out of 10 in my maths test, or this is a real kind of positive moment, because those moments really do have an impact, impact. And I still think, going back to kind of some of my moments and even what I see in schools now, is schools and celebration, sometimes it's those shiny moments. It's the shiny cups, the shiny, bring your medal in, shows your medal. Not all like moments have medals, but it's about celebrating and uplifting people's energy so that they come back and they're stronger, and young people like thrive off that. And again, you see that in a school environment that's really struggling with negative energy, because maybe the staff are bringing that negative energy in, where young people can really drive positive energy. Some of the schools I've been in recently, from some of the private areas within Nottinghamshire and East Midlands, have come away going, that school is badass. Like the kids are wicked. They're like, some of the questions that ask me, incredible. Even down to, I've recently come back from, I told you before, I'd come back from Doha and Dubai, and I did this community run before the marathon. And I ran the marathon, didn't run too well, some issues with equipment. But the community run before, they had 1,200 kids from schools in Qatar. And the first group of kids was from SEN environment, so autistic children than physical disabilities, but SEN environment. Anyway, so there was myself, a footballer that played for Paris Saint-Germain, and a Qatari high jumper. So we were running with the kids, which was fantastic. And we did all this. Anyway, so After about half an hour, we'd done just running with his kids, and then I then started walking to where my other prosthetics were to put my prosthetics on. Anyway, this young lad with autism had seen me and literally like walked over to me and felt like he had a safe space to ask a question. He goes, "Richard, I see that you've got a disability. I've got autism. I've been bullied at school. What kind of things could I do in my life to make sure I'm the best form of myself?" And I'm like going, that kid in front of his peers has felt it comfortable to be able to open up and ask for advice after me just having that moment with him running for 10, 15 meters. So it just shows that impact is incredible. And those moments, like that moment with that little kid, will last every time that I'm training. I feel shitty. I can't do my session, or I'm really struggling. That moment will go, actually, I'm having an impact. I'm doing what I said I wanted to do. And standing on top of that podium in front of 80,000 for that one moment was worthwhile.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's amazing. And you know, we sadly have to wrap up shortly. But I feel like we could be here for another hour really easily, Richard. We should definitely do this again.
Yeah, for sure.
I kind of wanted to finish up with kind of a question in terms of, you know, we're talking about the impact that we're having on young people, and you're having on young people. What would be, you know, in a sentence, what would be something that you would say to a child, a young person, or just anyone in general who feels limited?
Well, that day will pass for sure. And with support, mentorship, and an opportunity, anything's possible. Within education, if you want to go to Oxford and Cambridge, you can aspire to be the best form of yourself and reach for the stars. I did that with sport. And looking back to my former self at like 12, 13, 14, I couldn't have imagined the journey that I've been through with sport. And whether you're in whatever environment in your life, you can do it. Just believe it's possible and go and get it. It's so important to go and get it and strive to be the best form of you every day.
Wow. That's amazing. Thanks so much, Richard. We're actually in March 27. We're actually going to be attempting a world record.
Awesome.
It's going to be the biggest ever moment of children being active together in the world. So we'd love to link you in with that and let you know our plans.
For sure, I'll be involved.
It's going to be a big one. Bill, anything final from yourself, mate?
No, Richard. Just again, really appreciate your time. We are young business owners who ultimately are trying to get children active, and that's our goal. And we really value when people like yourself give us your time, because you don't need to, and we really it's really valuable for us. We're on a mission to try and get children active across the country, get them smiling, get them fit, active, and healthy, and hopefully we get some microphone moments today that will inspire one child out there to be fit, active, and healthy. So thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.